Welcome, friends. This is The Traveling Golfer. Hi, I'm Mike, and right there is The Traveling Golfer, Claudio DeMarchi. How are you, buddy?
I am good, thank you. Great to be back.
It's the weather has certainly turned in our favor in the last week here in golf, as I'm sure all you can think about at this point.
Golf, fishing, and wine, as usual.
Let's focus on the golf today. Can we do that?
Okay.
You stay out of that river for a few minutes, and we'll focus on golf.
But we got to touch on what a great start to the week it was, since it was National Wine Day yesterday.
Oh, that's why you were whining all day yesterday.
Local paper had a whole bunch of cheapy wines, which I don't usually. I realized the other day I didn't have too many cheapy wines to drink on just a pizza night or something, so I thought I'd go and buy a few.
What's a cheapy wine? What do you consider a cheapy wine?
7, 8 to 15 is usually cheapy. I usually buy stuff in the $15 to $30 range, and so I thought I would just go crazy. Now I have a whole bunch of little cheapies
to dive in on when you're just having a sandwich or a slice, or yeah. Well, that's nice. And okay, so we'll get to some. And you've made some discoveries, I'm hoping.
Always.
All right, so we'll find out more about that as we enter the wine cellar near the end of the show. But I will ask you this: did you kick off Wine Week with wine, or did you just go and purchase wine? Did you enjoy some?
Yes.
Excellent. I had a feeling that was going to be the answer, Claudio. I'm not going to lie to you. I saw that coming.
You can pretty much count on that as a daily routine.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good.
But I'm not an alcoholic.
No. You know what? I think there's other words for it, but it's neither here nor there. It's okay. And if you ever want to talk about it further, we'll just drop the topic. But if in fact you're interested in wine, stick around for the end of the show. All kinds of great tips, because Claudio is he is a bit of a connoisseur of the wines, and surprises me all the time how he ties that back to the golf trips that he's made. Today, by the way, we are on a journey again. Where are we headed to today to golf and to stay and to play?
Well, we're just knocking off all of the best spots.
Right out of the gate.
last time around, we were at America's summer golf capital. This time around, we're going to the home of American golf. So full of history. Hosted many U.S. Opens, ladies U.S. Opens. Everybody who's anybody has been there. And I'm going to think that you can probably even guess where we're going.
I have a feeling that we're going to the storied and historically wonderful Pinehurst today.
We are Pinehurst, Aberdeen, Southern Pines, and we have the president and CEO of the Pinehurst Tourism Board, or Aberdeen and Southern Pines CVB, and Phil Werz is going to join us and tell us all the great things going on there right now. How you doing, Phil?
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good.
We're doing great. Beautiful day in Pinehurst, as always.
Well, delighted to hear that, and delighted you join us to talk a little bit about the area and some of the fantastic golf. I mean, if you can't have a good time golfing in this part of the country, I can't help you, because it is like everything in golf.
It certainly is, as far as I'm concerned.
And you've been a number of times?
I have been many times. I've been to the resort. We've actually had one of our conventions at Pinehurst.
Oh.
But there is, I guess, my favorite golf course in almost North Carolina is considered part of the Pinehurst golf packaging area. And it's one of those golf courses that you either love or you hate. And I like to think, I always think of the Mexican beer guy, the Dos Equis guy.
Yes.
He'll say, if I only had, I don't drink beer often, but that
when I drink beer, I want to get, yeah.
So if I don't play golf often, if I'm going to play, I'm playing Tobacco Road.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Phil,
Great golf course. Yeah.
Phil, set us up a little bit about the area, if you don't mind. Of course, golf is the focus, but paint the picture on the whole for anybody who might want, on the whole, see what I did there? Not that whole. On the whole, for anybody who wants to plan a golf trip to the area.
Well, it is one of the storied and historic golf bucket list destinations in the world, as you mentioned. It is a very special place. I've been here about 2 years, and I was in the news media my first career for about 20 years and was coming here to Pinehurst since the late 80s. And it's just a great place. There are some places here that haven't changed for 125 years. There's some places that are modern. You know, when you see Pinehurst, you see the Carolina Hotel, which in fact just reopened this past Friday on May 22nd because of the pandemic. It has reopened, so it almost like it's breathed new life into the community again. That we're kind of coming out of this and things are going to happen. So, you know, as Claudio mentioned with the U.S. Opens here and another one in 2024, it's always on the forefront of people's minds. But it's not only just a great place for golf, but I mean, we have a really, and Claudio, you'll appreciate this as a wine connoisseur and a foodie. I mean, we have really, truly do have a great food destination here headed up by Mark Elliott, the executive chef at Elliott's on Linden. You own Sly Fox as well. Then you go into the village, you've got Drummond Quill, you've got Dugan's. You go over to Southern Pines, you've got Beltree Inn, Ashton's, Chapman's, all of these local restaurants. And, you know, with the economy the way it is, you know, we really hope, and it's vital that these local restaurants survive, because people that come here to play golf, I mean, they may love their favorite wine over at Mark Elliott's place at Elliott's on Linden. They may like the beef stroganoff at Chapman's. They may like something in the ostrich steaks that they have at Ashton's. So, you know, it's a special place. And then also the local shopping as well. So while you have golf here, there's so much more going on here. It is the home of American golf, but it is so much more too.
You know what's kind of cool, Claudio, is that golf is one of the first things coming back, and that it will breathe life back into such a tourist destination as well. That's the best case scenario. It actually gives everybody, I think, a sense of comfort that we're getting back to the things that we enjoy in life. Thank goodness golf is at the top of that list for social distancing. Anyway, what will happen in the area? Will restaurants begin to open again? Have you had any indication? Maybe by the time you're listening to the podcast, this is all far behind us. But as you're planning a vacation right now and thinking, okay, I will get away from home and make this trip, what are some of the plans that are in effect right now?
Well, I tell you what, it's interesting because I go over and practice and play at Pinehurst almost daily, really. And I might even go play the Cradle Par 3 course. It just takes an hour. But I'll go through the parking lot and you'll see people. They're here from any number of states. But when you start looking at the research, and as a tourism director here, you know, I'm looking at pouring over research from a number of different entities that talk about, you know, what are people going to be doing in this pandemic? So, but basically what we've seen is, while people may come from Canada, most of them are going to come within a 3 to 5, maybe 7 hour radius. They're going to drive here instead of fly. So, you know, we're seeing a lot of those statistics, and we know people are coming back to this area. And each week that goes by, there's a little bit more consumer confidence. That I remember I was in April, 82% of people said that they might not travel for a long time after this is over. And now it's down to 62%. So each week that goes by, we're progressively seeing more confidence in the consumer, and there's pent-up demand, and people want to get out and get out of the have cabin fever, want to get out of the house. So one thing that you mentioned about the restaurants, with the restaurants reopening recently, there's an initiative through the North Carolina Restaurant Lodging Association and Visit North Carolina, our state tourism bureau, which is supported by NC State University and Health and Human Services with the state. It's a program called Count on Me NC. And basically what this is, it's a program that restaurants, the restaurant owner, the chef, their employees may take, but it's also incumbent upon the consumer too, to take these tests within that portal that the state has. It's a program that basically says, and we've seen in our research, when people come back to this area and they go into restaurants, before it's just been takeout and delivery. Now you can dine in. So what people want to know is it safe? You know, there may be that moment of apprehension when I hit the door, hey, is this place safe? But then I'm also making the promise as a consumer that I'm not coming into your establishment with a fever or with COVID. You know, so it's a mutual promise, and it's a public health initiative, which has gone really well, and we've really gotten behind that quite a bit. So I think the first weekend that these restaurants were open, I made the rounds on Saturday, and saw a lot of people really enjoying. Social distancing is very much in effect. These restaurants have to be at 50% capacity per the state order in North Carolina and Governor Roy Cooper. People are wearing masks, some are not. You know, but I think our economy has to get back to a place where we were. It's going to take some time to get back where we were in January, but the baby steps right now, and nobody has the manual for how to get back our economy after a pandemic. So we're all trying to learn as we go along, but also trying to be safe too.
Well, it sounds to me like common sense is ruling the day, which I personally feel is all that's going to make the difference in this pandemic. So if they're taking the right steps and everybody's being aware of each other and they're making a concerted effort, that's, in my mind, everything that can be done outside of shutting down the world. Now, the world is opening up and golf is beginning. Let's focus
absolutely
on the courses.
The courses. You mentioned the Cradle at Pinehurst. Is that course number 9?
That is actually course number 10.
Number 10.
From what I'm hearing, too, there is actually going to be a course number 10 that may be coming down the pike here in the next few months or the next year, depending on the economy. Mr. Dedman Jr., who owns Pinehurst, has been enormously generous and rebuilt Pinehurst number 4 with Gil Hans, and then the Pinehurst Brewing Company, which is about a year and a half old right now. But the Cradle is something that Gil Hans did prior to redoing Pinehurst number 4. It is a tremendous, one of the best, and you see a lot of these now that that the Cradle is out there, and you see a number of other premier courses that have these really nice par 3 experiences. And this is 789 yards, 9 holes. When I go, it's funny, I see people carry their entire bag on the Cradle, which is fun. I guess they enjoy doing that. But you really only need a 56-degree wedge, a pitching wedge, and a putter.
Well, they're probably old like me, and they want to carry, because that's as far as I can carry my bag.
Well, put it this way: when I played Pinehurst number 2 yesterday, I had to use my rangefinder twice on a par 3. So that tells you right. So, but it's a great experience. You can walk it. I played sometimes by myself. I might go out at 8 o'clock in the morning when it opens, or you might get out there and you might be paired up with 10 different people. It's a cool place to hang out. It's fun. It's a great vibe. They have a teardrop van there that sells, you'll like this, Claudio. They sell wine, they sell liquor, they sell beer, and they crank tunes after 1 o'clock, and it could be rock and roll, it could be country, but it's just a really cool vibe. It's nothing serious. It's just fun. And as Tom Pasha, the president of Pinehurst Resort, says, it's his happy place.
Awesome.
After a day to go out there and grab a couple wedges and a putter and knock the ball around. And the longest hole is about 120 yards. And then the shortest is about 48, 52 yards.
Tournament course for my skill set is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. So I try to play that as often as I can. It's a quick 1 hour walk. And it's just a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, with the resort having, 9 or 10 courses, there's plenty of social distancing opportunity amongst all those. But there's 30 some odd courses in the area, and including a few other pretty high profile, prestigious resorts, like I believe, is it Pine Needles or Pine Needles hosted a ladies U.S. Open at least a few times, and that's Peggy Kirk Bell's property originally, I guess. And then I have another favorite down there. I guess it's the Talamore Group has the Mid-South Club with the Arnold Palmer.
Mid-South and Talamore Resort, the new course, and then Mid-South, which is a Arnold Palmer design. You mentioned Pine Needles and Mid Pines, both classic Donald Ross golf courses. In fact, Mid Pines, I love both of those golf courses. They're just awesome Donald Ross designs, but Mid Pines doesn't get nearly as much publicity as Pine Needles. But I got to tell you, if you had a choice, just draw a straw. If I would take one over the other, no problem. You told me I had to play Mid Pines over Pine Needles. They're both tremendous golf courses, world class. You mentioned the Women's U.S. Open. They had the Women's Senior Open last year, and they'll have the Women's Open in 2022 again. And then, of course, the U.S. Open will be back in Pinehurst number 2 in 2024. And last summer, we hosted the U.S. Amateur on Pinehurst number 4 and number 2. And it was the first time the U.S. Amateur had ever been played, the championship matches, on 2 different golf courses. The morning match was on number 4, the afternoon match on number 2. And then you mentioned Tobacco Road. If you haven't played it, it's a love-hate relationship with that golf course because it is unlike any other golf course you will ever play in your life. Mike Strand's design. So if you've been, I've played a few of Mike Strand's designs, Cypress Point out in California, and then you've got Todd Hill Farm, which is near Asheboro, North Carolina, about an hour from here. You go down to Pawleys Island, South Carolina, where I used to live, and you got Caledonian True Blue, some great sister courses down there, run by Bob Sagani, and then you've got Tobacco Road, run by Chris Brown and his tremendous staff there. It's just if you've never played it before, you really should play it with somebody who's played it before because there's a lot of blind shots, and a lot of shots that you're wondering, okay, where do I hit this ball? But there's more room out there than you really think.
Straight, of course.
Yeah, a little bit of visual deception there, but it's just a great place. You got to play it at least once. But like I said, you either love it or hate it. And you usually love it if you play well, and you hate it if you don't play well. But it will definitely make you want to come back for sure.
Would you say that it's probably has the most intimidating first tee shot in golf?
It is very intimidating. So fortunately,
Why?
it's a par 5.
What is it about the tee?
Well, there's two big mounds out there, and the idea is to hit it over the mounds or with a little bit of draw to get around. But Phil is absolutely right. It's the intimidation there.
You stand there and two monoliths in front of you. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Once you realize that, you just have to blank the intimidation out and just hit the ball. And of course, I think it's one of those courses that does require somebody to have a little bit of skill to play.
Yeah.
And
No doubt. The slope, I think, from the forward tees is about 138, 140. So, where you would typically find on the tips of a golf course. So it is definitely, but, just go into it with an open mind and realize and take a camera too, because it is visually stunning. And like you said, that first hole with those two mounds, plus that fairway, when you get between those two mounds, is very narrow. So you can either lay it up short and hit it through that ravine, if you will, and then your shot and approach shot into the green is blind too, because you've got two mounds that protect that green. So
they're baby mounds compared to the first two.
Right. Yeah. There's, I guess they're probably about 100 feet high or something like that on the other side, maybe 12.
God's sake. Yeah. Claudia, you'll be taking my shot off the tees, okay?
Yes. And there are a few other ones. I can't remember which par 5 it is where I guess somebody like me would hit two shots. I'd get to about 100 to 130 yards. Then other than the fact that I know that there's a green between a whole pile of mounds.
You still not seeing it?
Not seeing it. But you have no choice really but to go over to get to that one. You know that.
Well, that's the intimidation factor you're talking about. When your options are what you have to hit, that really does play with the mind a little bit. Now, you know what I noticed, that you're talking about all of these major tournaments that run through there, and what that leads me to believe is these courses are always top-notch because they can't just get them ready for these major tournaments and get them approved in a matter of a couple of weeks. That means that they are always in tournament shape, national tournament shape. And to find those kind of golf courses in anywhere in North America, it's kind of rare.
But that's why it's called Pinehurst.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Isn't that right, Phil?
And one thing that's really unique about the terrain here, we're known as the Sandhills in North Carolina. So obviously the soil is made up mostly of sand. So last week we had rain for a good 4 days, a better portion of 4 days. But that water runs right through that soil. So it might be a little damp, but where other courses might retain a lot of that water in a clay-based type soil, Pinehurst area, it's really phenomenal for being able to get rid of that water as quickly as possible. Plus you keep those courses in great shape year round because we're a 12-month-a-year destination. It might get a little chilly in January, but I mean, rarely snows here. If you do, stay off the road because you don't want to. It gets bad when it rains here, people on the road. But in the snow here, you don't want to be on the road, but it rarely happens here.
And it's not really chilly by Canadian standards.
Yeah.
Come on now.
I was going to say we'd probably be out there in shorts in January still and not worried too much about it.
Probably would.
I have the 11-degree rule. That's Celsius, by the way.
Is that your rule?
That's my rule. If it's 11 degrees, sunny, and not windy, I'm still good.
No, that sounds fair, actually. If you get out there and bundle up a couple of layers and go for it, that can make a nice game as well. And usually the courses are pretty empty by the time that's happening.
That's right. Now, I just want to go back to one thing, Phil, about a little bit of history, a little bit of food. And you mentioned Donald Ross. He had a little hotel at one time, which is the Pinecrest Inn. And
that's true.
That's the kind of place that the players who come there for all the big events, and they always hang around, obviously, for a few days. Some of them probably stay there. But not only can you have some great food that is local cuisine, but you can also have the stories. I was there, and I know that the Pinecrest had a little relationship with Payne Stewart, who was a personal hero friend of mine. And he left his mark there after winning the U.S. Open when he crunched Phil, I guess, was that 99?
99. Yep,
Yeah,
sure was.
his autograph is in the bathroom on the wall. I wonder how it got there.
And Jack Nicklaus has stayed there. Arnold Palmer. The staff has been there forever. It's a great local hangout too. You can chip balls into the fireplace there. That's always a fan favorite. And then also too the rocking chairs. I mean, it's kind of what you see a lot here in Pinehurst. A lot of porches, a lot of rocking chairs. So it's a great place to tell stories and share some camaraderie. The village is a very walkable. Where that is located, as you know, is in the village of Pinehurst, which is a very walkable area. You can park your car if you're playing in Pinehurst. You can park your car in the village and walk really everywhere. If you're staying in the hotel, they'll shuttle you over to the clubhouse. There's some great restaurants in the village as well, and some great shopping. But the Pinecrest Inn is very historic. Donald Ross used to own that. In fact, the home that he lived in is on Pinehurst number 2, the 3rd hole. And so it's known as Dornick Cottage. And they have recently renovated that, and they'll rent that out to groups for a number of nights or just overnight. Just contact Pinehurst Resort for that. But it's a pretty cool place to walk in and see where Donald Ross, his desk, it's not a big office. My dining room where I'm sitting here now is larger than his office in Dornick Cottage. But that's where he made the magic happen. And it's really fun, too, when you get to come down. If you get a chance to meet Bob Farron, who's known as the keeper of the greens, he's been at Pinehurst for a number of decades. And it's cool. I've been with some media types with you, like you guys, and had a tour with Bob Farron, and we would look at the terrain of Pinehurst number 2 or number 4. So it's interesting to hear his perspective of what Donald Ross was thinking when he saw not just one hole, but a whole terrain of maybe 4 different holes going sideways. This is how he envisioned, this hole, the top of this hill would be where the hole is going to be, and why he used this ravine between holes, and how he used the natural terrain and the lay of the land to create these golf courses and move very little earth, because obviously he didn't have the mechanisms and the machines back then to be able to move a lot of earth. And
he cut some of these golf courses into some insane terrain as well, where you think, oh, you could never actually put a game in this forest with this cow pasture here, and it turns into one of the most spectacular views that you'll ever, aside from the game, he actually laid them out in ways that seem pleasurable to the walk. Your eyes are constantly seeing amazing things. It allowed for, things like nature to continue to grow and do its thing. It's an incredible thing to watch a Donald Ross course reveal itself as you play it.
Sure. And there's also another Donald Ross course in the area that doesn't get nearly as much fanfare as the ones at Pinehurst, number 2, Pine Needles, Mid Pines, and that is Southern Pines Country Club. It was run by the Elks Club. It's in the midst of a transition right now. Kelly Miller, who's the president of Pine Needles and Mid Pines, he and his investment group are looking to purchase that club and to renovate it. So we're looking forward to that happening, and things that got kind of sideways with the pandemic. So hopefully once we get through this, that will happen. So that's exciting news, because when you kind of have that whole group of Southern Pines Country Club, Pine Needles, and Mid Pines, you got 3 of the absolute best Donald Ross golf courses, not just in this area, but in the state of North Carolina, where there are a lot of them, or dozens.
Yeah, and we've touched on the hotels and the inns that we have, but there's many other styles of accommodations, condos, anything from standard to, I had the pleasure of staying at the Mid-South Club, the owner's condo, actually, overlooking both 9 and 18 hole, the 9th and the 18th greens.
Right.
And so people have plenty of options, whatever style of accommodations they might want to stay in. And there's a number of packagers down there that maybe, are they all available through your website?
Yes. You sure can. And those accommodations at Mid-South are outstanding. And that's an Arnold Palmer design golf course. So it's a beautiful golf course. Tullamore, the new course as well. They have accommodations there. You mentioned some of the other accommodations in the area. New hotel opening up this summer, the Hilton Garden Inn. Bonnie McPeak, who's on my board, owns that, as well as the Hampton Inn and the Town Place Suites. What was the you mentioned other accommodations there? Just kind of slipped my mind.
Tullamore.
Yeah, so they do have accommodations there. And then also at Mid Pines and Pine Needles. So There's plenty of places to stay, and you can go to our website, homeofgolf.com. Just look under golf and packages, and you'll see a number of package providers throughout the area that have all kinds of offers. In fact, summer offers just were posted last week. So if you're looking to come down this summer, those should be rates that are good through about mid-September. And excellent. I think you'll find some really good rates, especially given the pandemic, trying to get people back into the area. We're getting ready to launch some marketing that really to like I said, a drive time kind of distance between Atlanta and DC, because that's really where the people are going to be coming from. But like I said, I'm in the parking lot at Pinehurst often. I see cars from Massachusetts, from New York, from Illinois, Minnesota, as well as the Southeast. So, it is a globally recognized destination. That's really when you talk about the economy and how bad it's going to be. U.S. Travel Association says this pandemic could be 9 times worse than 9/11. When I speak to my board next week, and when I speak to another group on Thursday, talking about what we're doing to recover from this, our destination, and we're in a very rural destination. Having an asset like Pinehurst and Pine Needles, Mid Pines, and the golf destination that we're globally known for, we stand in a little bit better position to rebound than most.
Yeah.
So we're very fortunate in that respect. And I think as people kind of get more confidence, each week goes by, you see more and more confidence and more people coming to the destination. So hopefully we just keep that momentum going. What we need right now is a great summer, no second spike of the coronavirus, a warm winter, and then just the confidence of people knowing that it's safe here. And research that we see, people are staying away from the big cities. They're not going to New York, Chicago, Miami.
That's
they're
true.
going to rural places.
Yeah.
To places like this where you can social distance easily. There's open spaces and just good old fashioned Southern hospitality. That's what brings people here anyway.
Well, I'm looking forward to meeting you in the parking lot at Pinehurst someday soon and teeing it up.
Homeofgolf.com. Get your package lined up now. It won't be long before you'll be able to make your way to Pinehurst and all of the wonderful golf courses in that area. It's nice that the parade back to normalcy is being led by somebody on a golf cart. And so, Phil, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, my pleasure. Just come on down anytime you want. Let us know, and we'll go tee it up. We'll meet in the parking lot, and we'll go play some golf, drink some wine, eat some good food, and we'll enjoy the home of American golf.
Darn, that
sounds good.
Yeah, really good.
All right, Phil, we'll catch up with you again down the road, but have yourself a wonderful summer, and stay safe.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Claudia. Appreciate you too.
Thank you.
I don't know how we are still sitting here at this studio table. We just got invited to Pinehurst. What are we doing sitting here?
My clubs are in the car.
What hand do you shoot? Well, that was a wonderful introduction to that area for anybody who has never been. And it sounds to me like one of these golf destinations, again, you can spend a full week there, golf a little bit, eat a little bit, relax a little bit, and be among the best of the best courses.
It certainly is, but there's no way that you're just going to eat a little bit.
Oh, fair enough.
Not in the U.S.
What's your favorite restaurant in town there?
Oh, God. The Pinecrest was a memorable spot. We had a fun night. We drank, a couple of drinks at the bar in front of that fireplace to chip balls into, and then we had a great dinner there. So that one certainly stands out.
Yeah, that sounds like a good time.
Yeah, and I stood where Payne Stewart stood.
Okay, so this is interesting. Do you want to share that story with me? What, did he just sign it while he was standing at the urinal?
I'm guessing so.
All right. Well, you know what? Some people need two hands. It doesn't matter. All right. Let's head into the wine cellar. As long as we're talking food and drink, it is Wine Week.
Yesterday was National Wine Day, and so we have to celebrate that.
Can't we do it for a full week?
Every day we can do it.
Okay, so
every day.
Wine Day is just every day.
It's an excuse.
Any day that ends in day. But this was interesting because it opened your mind to some less expensive brands out there, and you went cheap wine shopping.
I did go cheap wine shopping because everybody should have some cheapy wines if you're just going to have a casual drink with, like a pizza.
So
slice of pizza. Or
we're looking like
that.
8 to 15, under $20 a bottle.
Oh, definitely under $15 a bottle in this case. I think the ones that I picked up that I found that were recommended in the paper were under 15. Of course, I kind of stray a little bit to my regular safe zone, and I see something and I'm going, oh, this looks interesting, and all the things that we talked about last time, and looking for a bottle if it meets that criteria, I will fill the rest of my box up. Because if you go to this liquor store and you buy a dozen bottles, you're guaranteed a free box.
Oh, that's handy.
That's my policy.
Who doesn't want a free box?
Absolutely.
Have you ever thought about, it doesn't matter. You ever thought about reusing the box? It doesn't matter. I like your theory better because then you got to get 12 in there.
And then you got you can put the empties in there to take them back.
Let me ask you this. What is good wine, cheap wine, bad wine? What is the difference in your mind between a good cheap wine and a good expensive wine?
Oh, that's an interesting question. When you have cheap wines, you can have the type of wine that really doesn't taste all that well. It may be really young, or it just hasn't just made it to where you want to buy another bottle.
Right.
And then for me, it goes into the one and done category. But you don't have to, there's a lot of times where I've had people come to my house and bring a bottle of wine that's worth $1,000. And you're just setting yourself up for, in some cases, disappointment, because you can say, well, I've had a $50 bottle that was way better than that.
It is a matter of taste always, right?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So,
yeah. What did you, any discoveries you want to share with us that maybe you found on Wine Day this year?
Well, I haven't had a chance to try enough of them to talk about those ones yet. But
okay.
I was going to take people to a land down under, South America, to Chile, because I like Carmenere. Carmenere is a variety of wine, or a varietal, if you're talking fancy wine talk, that a lot of people may overlook because they don't know what it is.
What is it?
Well, it's actually somewhere between a Cabernet Sauvignon and a Merlot.
Oh.
And it came originally out of France. It was one of the big six varieties that came out of France, but for whatever reason, they didn't stick with it. Ended up in Chile, and Chile is flourishing with it.
Well,
and
they take varieties of grape in Chile and do amazing things with it that the rest of the world, like you say, abandons long, long ago.
They do. And this one here you can get as a pure Carmenere, or sometimes they'll blend it with some other, Merlots and Cabs and whatever, and you come up with some really good, solid tasting wines.
Yeah,
and they're for the most part under $20.
The Cabernet medianness with the bouquet, I guess, of the Merlot. I guess, is that what you find in the middle between the two?
Yeah, usually medium to full bodied and flavorful.
All right.
That's my kind of wine.
Any particular ones that you'd recommend?
Yes, I just happened to write down a few because I'll have to look to make sure I say them almost correctly. But a couple that I've tasted recently, Perez Cruz, also make a fantastic cab. Primus is another one. But two that really stood out. One was a 2017 Arboleda, and it's spelt just like it sounds. It was a 2017 for $19.95.
Wow, that's a good deal.
That's Canadian, so almost free in the U.S. And then the other one was Apaltauga, an Enviro Grand Reserva, and I believe that was $18.95. Equally as good. And highly recommend any of those if anybody's wandering through the liquor store and don't know what to get.
What would you pair it with, food-wise?
You know me.
Big juicy steak?
Well, I will pair any wine that I like with anything that I like to eat.
Oh, that's good.
So, reds, yeah, meats, white, yeah, fish. But I'm not afraid to have red with fish or white with meat.
Some people, and I don't like to throw the word hero around loosely, but some people would view you as that for making that blur across the lines. But thanks for joining us on today's podcast. I'm going to recommend you go to travelinggolfer.net. Thanks. I could actually edit that. And we will catch you next week. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and tell a friend. We'll be back here with another wonderful location next week. Claudio, thanks so much.
Thank you, sir.